Welcome, everybody. It is already Sunday morning, October 19th, 2025. It is the BodySlamNet AEW Wrestledream post-show review with your one and true only Max Dinenberg. I'll be with you tonight talking all things Wrestledream. I'm going to be joined, looks like in a matter of moments, by the one and only Corey Hayes, who is possibly will join. Just making sure with him that he'll possibly join. If not, it'll just be me. And we're going to break down a long show, including the tailgate, a 5.5-hour show. And I saw you, Mr. Bennett, already joining us via YouTube. So welcome everyone into this Body Slam post-show review here of AEW Wrestledream. Before we get into this full review, guys, I'll let you know, if you're currently watching us on Facebook or any of these other platforms, that you can hit that like button. Please hit that thumbs up button, the like button. It really helps support the channel across all social media platforms. If you're currently on YouTube, welcome to our YouTube channel. We post reviews for Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Dynamite and Collision, TNA, many other things every single day here on the YouTube channel. So please consider subscribing and ringing the bell. If you're on social media, on Twitter, we post things like my highs and lows every single week. So also please join us doing that. Also, if you're currently in the chat, please comment. As of now, at least for most of this review, it is just going to be me. So obviously it would mean a lot if everyone could help. But comment, I would read just like this. I'll highlight your comment and we'll talk about what you're going to say. I'm going to have to take some water breaks as we're doing it because this is a long show. We are going to get through it. I'm not going to keep you guys up until the wee hours of the morning as best as I can. I'll also be following along Twitter to make sure if there's any breaking news from the post show. So without further ado, let's get into AEW Wrestledream 2025. Now, as someone who I also want to say I do usually do these reviews of Black Hawk. He couldn't make it sadly tonight, so that's why it is just me, and then Corey will join me at some point as well. So this show definitely went on for too long. This is definitely a big problem for AEW. I thought they got away with doing long shows like these when they started around 3 o'clock Eastern time. And this was the first pay-per-view in months for AEW that they started at 8 o'clock. Now, I feel like they did this because, again, they're not going up for the first time, and it feels like a very long time. AEW not going up against an NXT or WWE PLE. So that gave AEW its own night, but they did not go with the afternoon show, which, again, even if it goes 4.5, 5 hours, it wraps up around 8 o'clock Eastern time. But here we are at 12:40 a.m. talking AEW Wrestledream. So let's get into the show, guys. We also make sure the banner is up. There we go. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll promote things as we go throughout the post show. So this show started at 7 o'clock on TNT with the tailgate, which is the new pre-show. You can still watch the table version of the pre-show, the 0 hours, they call it, on the YouTube channel with Renee and Jeff Jarrett and RJ City. But if you want matches, TNT, in order to make sure they have enough hours on TNT, they now do the tailgate for the show on TNT an hour before the show starts. So the show started with the Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, Pac, and Daniel Garcia. They beat the Conglomeration, which was Roderick Strong, Orange Cassidy, Tomohiro Ishii as well. So this match went definitely way longer than it probably should have. It went 15 minutes. I thought it was a fun enough match. Claudio Castagnoli was the standout with his one-handed airplane spin of OC in this match. It was funny that the Conglomeration had finally a new Titantron, a new theme, and then they had Roddy was very not happy about being really a full member of the Conglomeration. So obviously we knew the Death Riders were going to get the win because that would set up the fact that they would still be a factor in the main event. I thought this could have gone probably 10 to 12 minutes, not 15 minutes, closing in on 16 minutes. But I think, again, I like watching the Death Riders guys go to work. Pac was finally back to wearing, he was not wearing pants, but he was wearing different outfit again, which I find interesting since his return. But again, the Death Riders get the win. It's going to be interesting what they do with Orange Cassidy. He came back. He wasn't supposed to be thrown into the TNT title match with Fletcher. That was supposed to be hologram. So they haven't really, it's weird. Orange Cassidy is back. Eddie Kingston is back. We're about to talk about Eddie Kingston. They have not gotten the ball rolling with a lot of momentum for those two big returning acts. So hopefully post Wrestledream, those two guys get more of a focus with some more interesting storylines post the show, which moves us in perfectly. Eddie Kingston and Hook defeated the Frat House. It was supposed to be an open challenge for Eddie Kingston and Hook, but they went to the ring. The Frat House were already in the ring, so it turned out to be even the Frat House are not jobbers. It turned into a very jobber match. It was 3 minutes long. This did not need to be on this show, at all. This felt like at best a collision match at the best. So at the worst, it felt like a Ring of Honor match that you would see on Ring of Honor TV. Eddie Kingston, another guy, came back, felt like it was okay. Finally, Eddie Kingston's back. Didn't really have a good match with Big Bill at All Out. We have the Hook tandem. Eddie's had some solid one-on-one matches with Beast Mortos and Jalistico. He cut a quick promo on Collision to set up the match. I just think that this did not need to be on the pre-show whatsoever. This could have helped the fact of what happened towards the end of the pre-show. But again, I'm cool with Eddie Kingston and Hook being a team, but this was not, it just felt like this did not need to be a part of Wrestledream whatsoever. This was then followed up by women's tag action. We had a lot of tag matches on the show, a lot of great women's tag team, a lot of just great tag team wrestling on the show. Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale pick up the win over Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. This is continuing the feud with the Jet Speed and Willow versus the FTR Megan Bayne feud. Megan pinned Harley on Collision on Wednesday. This made a lot of sense to get Willow a pin here. This is also setting up the AEW Women's Tag Division, as it was announced later on the show that this Wednesday on Dynamite, we are getting the bracket finally for the AEW Women's Tag Team Championship. So it feels like we're having a lot of teams set in place. I feel like we're going to get Toni Storm and Mina. We're going to get these two teams. We have Ty J, maybe even an Aminata and Hayter. We have also a triangle met with Julia and Sky Blue. Plenty of other teams I'm not even thinking of right now. The tag division is very stacked. Mercedes says she wanted to add another championship, so she's probably going to have a partner as well. So very excited to see what this bracket looks like. More likely, we'll probably get a champion at Full Gear. Maybe at World's End, but probably Full Gear. But again, happy. Willow got the pin over Penelope Ford. Megan Bayne's been one of my favorite performers in 2025. Her running Liger Bomb instead of the F5, that change of finish really has helped her a lot. Not that she does a bad F5 or anything, but that running power bomb is great. And the fact that her and Penelope dressed up as Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn, really great gear for the two of them, which I loved. But yeah, this match I thought was very solid. I think Willow is someone who everyone feels like is on the come up, needing a big push and a big win over one of the champs. She obviously has history with both Mercedes and Chris Statlander. So there's plenty of story to tell with both singles champions on the roster. But I think they're going to do Willow and Harley, I think, in the tag tournament, if I'm not mistaken. So again, we will see. But Harley Cameron and Willow got the win. The pre-show ended, and then it became the opener for actually Wrestledream, which was FTR defeating Jet Speed. Now, the entrances started, and there was 5 minutes left on the tailgate. I was like, I texted our Body Slam group chat that we have. I was like, they're really only going to give FTR and Jet Speed 5 minutes, or really under 5 minutes once the entrances were done. I was like, that's very weird after the first 8-man tag took 15 minutes. I was like, why would that get 15 minutes and this get 5 minutes? And then they did a thing that they've never done before, which was with around 30 seconds left on the pre-show. It cut to black. We cut to the pay-per-view, and there's the pyro and the fire and the fireworks are going on. The show is opening, and FTR and Jet Speed are in the ring. I actually thought it was a really good idea. Not that they should do this on every pay-per-view, but it really gave the crowd a bolt of energy to start the show, where there's fireworks and then the Jet Speed and FTR went into their big moves right as the pay-per-view was starting. I think it's a really smart thing because for most, even casual wrestling fans, when they see there's like 5 minutes left in the pre-show, you assume this match is being done before the main show. Not just are you sucking people into the show, you're bringing people into, I want to see how this match ends between FTR and Jet Speed. And not just are you making people want to pay for the pay-per-view, you're trying to have people pay just to see the end of this match. Now, again, I don't think you could pull this off on every pay-per-view, but because, again, they've never done it, it felt fresh, it felt different, and I thought it was really well done. FTR continues to have one of the more underrated years in tag team wrestling. They haven't been winning the biggest of matches this year, but if you look through their catalog of matches, they've just had phenomenal matches with like the Outrunners, Cope and Christian, for example. Even like Adam Priest and JD Drake, they had a very good match with on Collision. And this was another good match with Jet Speed. I was kind of built in like, could Jet Speed get a pretty big win here on the show? But again, I was thinking, I was like, Brodito's probably going to retain. We need to have some heel challengers. So it made sense they went with FTR to beat Jet Speed. Kevin Knight and Speedball have become big stars, even though they have not even been in the company up to a year at this point. They both have translated really well to AEW. The move where Dax does the fake suplex on Cash to set up the Shatter Machine was so clean. The UFO splash from Kevin Knight is so great. Stokely got involved at the end, holding down Speedball's legs. So FTR sneakily again steals a win from Jet Speed. So they stole the win on Dynamite in the mixed trios match. They steal another win. So I'm not sure if they're going to continue this feud beyond Wrestledream and just put FTR back in the title picture, and what that means for, I guess, Jet Speed moving forward. But I thought this was a really cool, unique way to start the pay-per-view, as pre-show turns into the main show. You get the fireworks. It felt like an old Dynamite where I think AEW's missed this, where if you go back to 2019, 2020 AEW, like literally the beginning of the company, when you clicked on Dynamite, you would they would do the intro, there'd be the fireworks, but the wrestlers were already in the ring, and you would get a ding, 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 and the match would start in the first 30 seconds of Dynamite. And it felt so different to any pro wrestling company at the time, especially WWE. He always starts the show with a long promo segment. AEW's like, here's our alternative, where you click on the channel, there's a match going right away. You don't even get entrances. And I thought that was very unique and special. And I thought this was a tribute to the beginnings of AEW. I still think they should bring that back for every single Dynamite or Collision or both. But what do you guys think? Do you guys enjoy the opening stuff of this match? We nearly have 800 people tuning in, which I just really appreciate because it is just me. So it honestly means a lot that we already have so many people. I want to make sure Corey posted this tweet as well. Just want to thank everyone already for tuning in. We're about to start. I guess we already started technically the main core, but we just got past the technical pre-show matches. So again, if you're new to BodySlam.net, welcome. I'll promote the Patreon, which I have not done yet. Please subscribe to BodySlam's Patreon. If you go to patreon.com//BodySlam PWN. Corey Hayes, who might be joining us during this post-show recap of Wrestledream. He's been breaking tons of news. Last week, he broke the news exclusively to BodySlam Patreon, the releases of the NXT and the Evolve ID talent from WWE last week. Last night, he broke the news that Ilya Dragunov was backstage and was planned to be in a match on SmackDown. obviously turned into him becoming the new United States champion. Those news was broken first on Body Slam's Patreon channel. So please, it really helps support everyone who's working at Body Slam who wants to turn this into a full-time gig. So please help support Body Slam by subscribing to our Patreon. Corey Hayes is doing such amazing stuff on the show, breaking amazing news. Corey reposted the stream already and has been tweeting about it. So really appreciate Corey again if he joins or he does not join. Let's get into the main card for Wrestledream. Again, if you want to comment, I will highlight. We'll have a full conversation. As of now, it is just me, so it really mean a lot if we have, again, nearly 800 people currently watching the stream. So please comment away. Let me know you're here. Let me know your thoughts on particular moments. If you have any questions about anything related to pro wrestling, including Wrestledream, I'm here to answer them as well throughout this show. So let's get into, as it's almost about to be 1 a.m. in 10 minutes. The technical the first match on the show was Jamie Hayter defeating Tekla. They made a big deal on the pre-show being like, Tony Khan has banned everyone from ringside. That basically means Julia, Sky Blue, and Aminata. I thought Jamie Hayter and Tekla killed it. Shocked that they got 15 minutes. Happy they did. I thought they really killed it in the opening match. Tekla's new energy lately has been awesome. She's gotten a lot more time on the mic over the last couple weeks. This is all leading to the Blood and Guts match in mid-November in, I think, North Carolina, where they had Sting's final match a year ago. But Jamie got the win here. I was betting a lot that Tekla was going to get a win. It really feels like Tekla is someone that's on the rise. But now what they're planning on doing for Full Gear with both mid-card, with both the mid-card and the world champion, now it makes sense why they went with Jamie Hayter. But this match was really good. I thought it was probably Tekla's best in-ring match since joining the company, and her in-ring work has been great. Again, I think a lot of people forget Jamie Hayter was the cornerstone for this women's division when she was the women's world champion, held a very long reign, sadly got hurt, dropped the belt, has been basically in and out of AEW over the last 2 years. So it's great to see her working back into, even when Tekla debuted, beat up Jamie Hayter, Hayter got her. They had to pivot to the amazing Tekla and Aminata feud. And now here we are in October, and we're getting that feud back rekindled between Hayter and Tekla. They both beat the shit out of each other for this match. The entrance was also really cool with, the entrance ramp and the stage was very unique for AEW, and the way they used the spider webs and Tekla's entrance, I thought was really cool. But yeah, Jamie Hayter won clean with the Haterade. This was a match I was shocked how much time it was given. Happy they did. Happy there was 3 women's singles matches on the show. Women got a lot of time on this pay-per-view. Obviously, there's usually just the TBS and the women's title match. It was cool to see just a non-title women's one-on-one match blood feud on the show. And obviously, it will set up more things. You had Julia and Sky come out afterwards. You had Aminata come out afterwards. So obviously, we're going to get War Games. I think we're probably going to get Megan and Penelope probably with Triangle of Madness, and maybe Willow, Harley, Hayter, Aminata, and one more person to go with that group. If it's 5-on-5, if it's 4-on-4, we shall see. But I'm very excited for the first ever Women's Blood and Guts. We're getting the first Women's Tag Team Championships. So I still think AEW needs to do better with women on TV, like especially Dynamite, Collision. They usually get 2 matches in multiple segments. Dynamite's kind of where the women have not been getting as much time. Like usually it's like 1 match and 2 segments. Wish there were 2 matches now, but I think they're going to have to now with adding another women's belt to the show. So I thought this was a very strong way to kick off the show. Let me get my first water break of this review here. So this then moves on to the $500,000 tag match between Jurassic Express, Jack Perry, and Luchasaurus, defeating the Young Bucks. The Bucks came out. Their entrance was not their music. It was a Titantron showing all of their expenses. And it was basically close to $500,000 of expense. If it was shoes, suits, the casino, all of this thing. And then it says transaction denied because they only had $32 in their bank account. And that's why the Young Bucks wanted this match, because they wanted to get back $500,000 to use. And this to me was my favorite match of the night. It was a phenomenal tag team match. Now, again, these guys have wrestled each other before, even outside of AEW, in the Cali scene before AEW began. But again, I think a lot of people forget, because of all of the controversy with Jack Perry, that he's a damn good professional wrestler. He was doing a lot of hurricanranas, including one on the outside, the moonsault to the outside. I've never seen him this high, the aerial attack from him. Maybe, again, and I'm an OG, like day one AEW guy. I've seen basically every match for Jack Perry in AEW. You could tell there was some passion, some FU moments out there, meaning I think a lot of people took for granted how good of a wrestler Jack Perry was, or maybe forgot how good of a wrestler was and put all of the all-in drama from a couple years ago on him and just kind of clouded their judgment. But the crowd is all in on this reuniting. Luchasaurus was over. He was getting loud chants before the match started. He hit that moonsault outside the ring on the Young Bucks and landed it. Just so impressive for a guy his size. Another guy, when he did the Christian Cage stuff, he wasn't really wrestling as much anymore. So you kind of missed that energy that Luchasaurus wrestled with in the beginning of AEW. Plus, you have him and Jack Perry, who have great chemistry. The move where Jack uses Luchasaurus' shoulders to turn into a senton. The finisher is so clean. And now they're including the crowd in it, where you get the 3-2-1 into the finish. And obviously, the Young Bucks is my favorite tag team of all time. I think no one will dispute that they're one of the greatest tag teams of all time. And I think, again, people forgot about that, because the Bucks, from a creative perspective and from just how much they were wrestling, people just forgot how great this team was the last couple years because of the way they were booked, the Punk drama, and then they weren't really wrestling that much in 2024, their heel gimmick that they were so afraid to wrestle. Here, they've had a lot of just fantastic matches in 2025, and it feels like prime Young Bucks. The fact that they're like sniffing the money throughout the entire match was great. They do hit the BT trigger on Jack Perry twice. Second time he kicks out of it. Definitely bought me a ticket, even though I thought Jurassic Express were definitely going to win this match. Keep the bum Young Bucks kind of thing going here. But Jurassic Express beat the Young Bucks here. Post-match, Jack Perry was trying to help up the Bucks and maybe give them some of the money, but Don Callis' family came out, beat them up, and then Kenny makes the save. But Kenny stops with the Young Bucks and says, "You're not going to do anything." So then Kenny makes the save for Jurassic Express. He does the Inoki tribute as well on the ramp. Clearly, they were going to do either Kenny Omega and Andrade on this show, or they're going to do Kenny Omega and Ibushi against people on this show. Both didn't happen. Obviously, the Andrade contract situation has been a hot topic. Let's just say that, which did not allow Andrade to be on the show and not to be mentioned since after his attack on Andrade and then on Kenny. And then Ibushi gets a super serious injury on Collision a couple weeks ago, where he's going to be out to a year or two, and he now can't be on the show. I think they wanted probably to have Ibushi, and that was probably the pivot for them after Andrade stuff is let's just have Kenny and Ibushi do stuff, maybe against Don Callis' family. That doesn't happen either. So it's weird where Kenny's on the show, but it's weird to have Kenny be 100% healthy and not having a match. But again, they kind of went, their plan A fell apart, and then their plan B also fell apart. So it felt like they were just kind of shoehorning him onto the show. So, because also, look, there's no Swerve, there's no Ospreay, there's no MJF, there's no Adam Cole. There's a lot of top guys not wrestling every week. And when you have Kenny healthy, you would kind of want to use him at this point. I guess he's not 100% healthy, but somewhat healthy. Just making sure what this says. Okay. And so it was weird that he shows up on the show just to help out at the end. But again, always great to see Kenny. We want to always make sure Kenny's healthy at all times. He's taken some time off here and there. But again, it looks like Kenny's back working for the most part, pretty full-time for AEW, which is great to see. It's going to be interesting what they do with this stuff moving forward. It seems like they're teasing at least a possible Young Bucks babyface turn. They're really against beating up Kenny. They've kind of let the Don Callis family handle Kenny. They haven't really gone physically involved with Kenny. So they were in that tag match, but when Don Callis family tried to beat up him afterwards, the Bucks didn't help out. The Bucks weren't going to beat up Jurassic Express after the match. So will we get the Bucks turning babyface and bring back the Elite with Kenny? That will be very interesting to see. But again, they're still the bum Young Bucks. They didn't win the $500,000. So we'll see what that sets up for the future. But this, for me, was my favorite match of the night. It was so fast-paced. I thought it was probably the best Jurassic Express tag match I can remember in AEW. And that's even before, obviously, they split up years ago. So I was on the edge of my seat. The crowd got on their feet towards the end of the match. Really had a good time with this tag match. Then we got a Tornado Trios #1 contender match. Hurt Syndicate defeat The Demand, Ricochet, and Gates of Agony. And this is the third match in the last month and a half between these six guys. The Demand won at All Out. Then on the Homecoming edition of Dynamite, in the street fight, Hurt Syndicate won. So we get the grudge match here, and Hurt Syndicate get the win. This, again, was also announced on the pre-show that it was a #1 contenders match. So we're going to get Hurt Syndicate versus the Ops this Wednesday on Dynamite for the Trios title. Going to be maybe the Demand interfere here. We shall see. The MVP of this match was Shelton Benjamin, who was, again, 50-something years old, but he was trucking people left and right. He suplexed Ricochet from in the ring to out of the ring. And then he doesn't really do this anymore, but he hit a full-on flip tope senton outside the ring and landed it. He slightly kicked MVP in the face when he did this, but I think Shelton Benjamin was my most underrated performer of my lifetime, as someone who grew up in the early 2000s in WWE. Just could not believe this guy was not a top tier or booked as a main event level talent for WWE in the mid to early 2000s. And he was kind of just there from in the 2020s and the 2010s. So to see him really get some time to shine since joining AEW singles wise, but obviously in the trio stuff, the tag stuff, has been really cool to see Shelton Benjamin get his flowers. But Ricochet, for me, has been also a top 3 or 4 performer in AEW for me this year. This heel turn has more than worked out for him. Him and Gates of Agony was a match made in heaven. The laugh, he's my favorite seller in professional wrestling at the moment. Everything he takes, he just sells to $1 billion if it's a clothesline. We had the MVP balling move that the whole crowd was excited for. MVP has not been wrestling really at all since joining AEW. And I thought, because there have been so many rumors about Hurt Syndicate getting a 4th member, but Cedric Alexander not being under contract with TNA anymore, rumors. I thought that it was a tornado. I thought we could see a new member of Hurt Syndicate debut, because I don't think MVP wants to be wrestling full-time anymore. And it looks like he will, because he's going to be in this World Trios match on Wednesday. But they just won clean. It was really cool where Ricochet was about to be cornered by Hurt Syndicate, and then Khan's like, I'll take the sacrifice. I'll take the bullet and the loss for the group. And Benjamin pins Khan after a spear by Lashley, if I'm not mistaken. I thought this was better than their match at All Out. And I actually thought it was better than their street fight, too. I thought this was a very fun 13-minute match. A lot of guys got time to shine. Toa and Lashley have a great beef slapping meat type match, and they had Shelton doing his thing, Ricochet selling, MVP got in there when he needed to, and Hurt Syndicate get the title match against Joe, Shibata, and Hobbs on Wednesday. Let's move in now to the TNT title match. Kyle Fletcher retains against Mark Briscoe. Let me join in whenever. If you can't, all good. Whenever. If not, all good. Kyle Fletcher beat Mark Briscoe. Sorry, it is just me here. So sorry for the dead air. First time I am doing a single post show. Usually have Black Hawk or Rami or Corey with me. So again, it means a lot that 900 people are just watching me break down Wrestledream. Truly a dream come true. So I really appreciate all the support from you guys. But Kyle Fletcher beat Mark Briscoe. This was the 5th match they've had singles wise. I was in Philadelphia when Fletcher Fletcher beat Briscoe at Dynasty. Mark Briscoe has also had an unbelievable 2025 where he was a guy being booked against a lot of top talent in AEW, but he would just never win a big match. He was put in there with guys like Kyle Fletcher on that top main event level just to have a good match and to lose, especially in like the last 2 Continental Classics. He's barely won matches in both tournaments, but the MJF feud changed a lot for him where he beat MJF at All In. MJF's idea for that feud, putting over Mark Briscoe. Obviously, Mark Briscoe's been not doing just regular 2-on-2 tags since his brother passed away. So he's been doing a lot of conglomeration, 6-man stuff. But he got this title match, and him and Fletcher just have unbelievable chemistry. When I was going to that match at Dynasty in April, I didn't think that match was going to be much of anything. It turned out to be one of the best matches on that show. And I thought it was one of the best matches on this show again. I think Briscoe has had an unbelievable year in the ring, and Kyle Fletcher is clearly the next guy. Or not just is he the next guy, he already feels like a main event talent for AEW because obviously he was just in the main event at All Out against Hangman. And that's really important. We're in such a pro wrestling world now where so many guys under the age of 30 are just called the future. And all these companies are so patient to a detriment on so many of their young talents because they have all these experienced 35 and over guys as their main event guys. Sometimes the best wrestler on your show is a 21-year-old or it's a 25-year-old, or in this case, Kyle Fletcher, who turns 27 years old in December. He is 26 years old. This is a main event guy. And they say it after every one of his matches. It's not if he'll become world champion, it's when he'll become world champion. The guy, it's funny, 2 years ago, he was just a tag guy with Aussie Open and an amazing tag team. And one of my favorite tag teams of the last 5 years. But unfortunately, Mark Davis has been very injury prone in the last 2 years. And the blessing was it gave Kyle Fletcher a godly singles run. And it's really shown him as an equal to guys like Hangman Page, like Will Ospreay. He has beaten the top guys in the company, beating Dustin Rhodes in that fashion, taking him out of action for years. Having these matches with Mark Briscoe and Commander, for example, just amazing stuff. A guy is 26 years old and he feels like a top guy. That's what's great. And I'm not comparing companies here when I say that. I'm just saying when you have guys under the age of 30, it's okay that they could be bigger deals in 5 to 10 years. Sure. Sometimes these guys are just the now, sometimes they're just the now and the present. And Kyle Fletcher is the present. Just an amazing match. It went 25 minutes based on this thing I'm looking at. Incredible match. The finish where Fletcher does the brain buster on the turnbuckle or the top rope. It's incredible every time. That move never gets old. The reason why is he doesn't use it in every match. He usually just wins match of the usual brain buster. Briscoe kicked out of it in the match, and Fletcher really sold the hell out of it. Briscoe hit a J Driller on the apron. Incredible match. Fletcher with that top rope brain buster. It is one of the filthiest moves in wrestling, and the reason why no one's kicking out of it at this point. So Fletcher remains TNT champion. Chris Statlander got a big win in her first big defense for her AEW Women's Championship. She defeated Timeless Toni Storm. Again, Statlander had that roll-up win in the four-way to beat Toni Storm. This whole feud's been about how Toni Storm keeps saying to herself, I don't know who I am without the AEW Women's World Champion. But we all knew Statlander needed a good, clean as a sheet win over Toni Storm, who has been the top women's wrestler for AEW for the last couple of years. She's always been the champion or in the world title picture, and her reign was amazing, but we all knew it had to make someone. And Chris Statlander winning the world championship in her first opportunity in a couple years. The story with her and Toni was great, and the finish to this match was great, where Statlander has her in that submission move, and Toni's like, I'm not going to tap out. You have to effing kill me. She screams at Stat, you have to effing kill me. And that turned into the Saturday night or whatever Stat calls her finish. And Stat gets the pinfall win over Toni Storm. Clean as a sheet. She went for that Wheeler Yuta like pinfall on Toni, just like the way she beat her at All Out, but Toni kicked out. So Toni was obviously ready for that submission. Toni hit Storm Zero, kicked out of that. But this is all about putting Chris Statlander over and clearly as the world champion. I thought the women's wrestling on the show was fantastic. I'm not the most excited about the direction we're going with Stat after this. I'll let you know once we get to the post-match. But I thought Statlander and Toni had a really good match. Tony Khan said on that media call that he kept them separated in ring singles-wise for a reason. He wanted to make it feel like a big match, and it certainly felt like a very big match. So all credit to the two of them for making this story feel so riveting. A lot of respect for them after the match, where Toni did shake the hand of Statlander. She didn't do like the crazy thing until afterwards. But as Statlander is celebrating her win, Mercedes Moné comes out. And we knew she was going to do an open challenge, but she interrupts Statlander and says, get out of my ring. And Stat just leaves. And I was like, why would the women's world champion just be like, whatever, I'll get out of your ring, Mercedes? I was like, that was very weird. So Mercedes kicks Statlander out of the ring. She is now she has 10 belts. Frat Party come out wearing all of her belts and doing the CEO dance in front of Statlander, which was pretty funny. Mercedes retained her CMLL title last night against Persephone. And she announced on that CMLL show in Arena, Mexico, that she was going to do an open challenge. But it wasn't just an open challenge. Mercedes said she wants another belt. So any champion in the back. So I was already thinking two people, Shuri or Athena, but it wasn't either of them. It was Mina Shirakawa, who is the interim ROH women's TV champion. Now, I am someone, it might be the only person who watches Ring of Honor every single week. Mina has only defended that title one time after winning it as Supercard of Honor. She has only defended it one time in like 3 or 4 months. That was against Lacey Lane on an edition of Ring of Honor. I was at that show. But she defends the title, becomes a title for title match. And I thought this is where you could feel the crowd being tired for the first time all night. And I thought this match didn't deserve it because the match I thought was incredible. Mercedes has been, I thought, for AEW, her and Toni have been like they just feel like two of the best women's wrestlers, or just wrestlers, period, in the world. And Mercedes gets so much crap that, it's Mercedes Hogan. She's just booking herself to win all these titles, which are just, again, factually incorrect. She's not choosing to go to all these countries just to win titles. This has become all these companies wanting her. And she just loves pro wrestling, loves traveling the world. And Ultimo Monet in full force. She won with that Monet or the statement, whatever that, not the submission move, her pinfall move. She used the ropes to get the pin. Earlier in the match, Mercedes was trying to use the ropes. That did not work out. And the ref saw her. And then later in the match, she steals it with her on the ropes. But she was selling her knee the whole time, leading to Mina doing a couple figure fours on Mercedes. Again, Mercedes for me is one of the most athletic people as well. She did the Three Amigos, missed the frog splash. Mina hit the glamorous driver, which is Mariah May's finisher when she was in, or Blake Monroe now, but her finisher in AEW. And they did call it the glamorous driver on commentary. So they still, they don't say her name. They still, still an homage to Mariah May in that way. Look at that rhymed. But Mercedes gets the win. She has now 11 championships. She now has a title in Ring of Honor. She's now the interim Ring of Honor TV champion. Again, the current Ring of Honor TV champion, Red Velvet. She's still the champion. She's been out for a long time, like 4 or 5 months at this point. So maybe the unification match will be Mercedes beating Red Velvet. I don't know. I haven't heard many updates on when Velvet will come back. I don't really like interim championships, especially when Mina, in like 3 months of having this title, has only defended the title 1 time. Like, if you're going to have an interim championship, then I want them defending the title on a weekly basis. But if this is only her second defense in like 3 or 4 months, then let's not do an interim championship. You know what I mean? Like, let's build people to become contenders for Velvet. Like, again, if you want to do an interim championship, you need to have the champion defend a lot. But here, Mina just barely felt like she was champion for the majority of the time. So she loses. Mercedes now will probably, who knows if she'll ever wrestle for Ring of Honor. We shall see. But now she is the interim champion for the TV for Ring of Honor. Statlander comes back out. We get a face-off between Statlander and Mercedes. And Mercedes says after the match in a backstage promo, she wants the world championship at Full Gear mid-November at the Prudential Center. So I'm not sure I'm the biggest fan of this, because I kind of want Statlander to do her own thing. And AEW is having a problem now where they're having so many mid-card champions fighting for the world champion. We just had TNT champion Kyle Fletcher. He fought Hangman Page for the world title. We just had Samoa Joe tonight. He's a trios champion. He's fighting for the world championship. Now we're going to have Mercedes, the TBS champion, who already lost in her world title match at All In, get another world title match against Chris Statlander. Now this time, again, she beat Statlander, I think, every time this year when they had like a series of matches for the TBS title. I think 2 of them were on pay-per-view. Incredible matches. I don't know if they're nervous that they have the whole women's roster in this tag tournament. So, and they have the blood and guts people. So I don't know if Tony thinks they don't have enough women to build 2 separate title feuds right now, because they have so many of them focusing on the tag title and blood and guts. Maybe that's why they're doing Mercedes and Statlander. I'm interested if they do indeed do Statlander versus Mercedes for Full Gear. Would Statlander win? Like, are they going to give Mercedes the world championship too? Or Statlander always loses to Mercedes. Does Statlander beat Mercedes for the TBS title? And does that lead to her losing all these other titles? Something has to be a catalyst for Mercedes losing all of these titles. Earlier in the year, she lost the New Japan Strong title to Azumi, and that did not really affect her whatsoever. She kept winning titles all across the world. We all are waiting for the catalyst to what will lead to Mercedes losing all of these championships and making her go crazy. And I do think it could be Statlander. I don't think they're going to unify the titles and like get rid of a mid-card title. I kind of wish Mercedes would lose the belt to someone like Willow, someone like Jamie Hayter, someone like, I think Willow, someone who like really could benefit from beating Mercedes. I know they already done that before. There's people on the roster who could use a monster win like that to win a championship. And I'm not sure we need like someone with 2 belts. Another thing tonight, you had Okada, who's a Continental champion. He's wrestling for the tag title. So we have a lot of stories recently with AEW where mid-card champions are wrestling for other titles. And I think it's becoming a little bit too much and kind of shows you that there's just way too many titles in basically every single wrestling company at this point. So great match. I'm very interested if that's why they're doing Mercedes and Stat. Also backstage, Tony Storm is being interviewed by Renee. What do you do next? Tony's like in the corner, sad, doesn't say a word. Mina comes over and says, I know we both lost, but I will always, I'm always here for you. And they hug. I think they're going to do Mina and Tony as a team for the women's tag team titles. Home stretch, guys. We're so close to 1,000 people tuning in. I want to thank again, once again, as we're heading into our final 3 matches. It is 1:22 in the morning. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in as of now. Again, please keep hitting that like button if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube. Like it on Twitter. Repost this and share it with your friends. Again, I've been going live for 45 minutes, and I really appreciate everyone tuning in because it is just me, and it really means a lot that everyone is closing on 1,000 people want to watch me talk about wrestling. So I really appreciate it. So Bandito and Brodito retain the tag team titles against Okada and Takeshita. Takeshita just won the IWGP Championship match on Monday at King of Pro Wrestling, defeating Zack Sabre Jr. to become the IWGP World Champion. Also, if you're new to BodySlam.net, myself and Blackhawk host a Japanese pro wrestling podcast every single Friday. We're live from 7 to 8 o'clock Eastern every Friday. So if you want to break down of Takeshita versus Zack Sabre, it's currently on the YouTube channel. You can rewatch it as Blackhawk and I recap King of Pro Wrestling. This was a phenomenal tag team match between Brodito and the Don Callis family because they had a pretty solid match at the Daily's place where that's how Okada and Takeshita got this match. But the drama here continues to be the big match that we're definitely going to get soon by the end of the year, Okada versus Takeshita. They were working together throughout the match, but then when Okada did like the middle finger spot, Takeshita's like, was that at me? What are you doing? And then the way the finish got set up in this match was Okada accidentally hits Takeshita with the Rainmaker. But as Takeshi's like laid out, Okada's like laughing at him, flipping the middle finger to him. So Okada obviously does not like Takeshita. On Dynamite, when Takeshita was giving that video to Don Callis for his birthday, Okada hilariously like clicked off the TV. This is a huge match, which I think AEW will either have for World's End or they might let the New Japan have this match for the Tokyo Dome. That's kind of the big debate right now. Where will we get the Okada Takeshita match? Will they get Tokyo Dome, on January 4th or 5th? I forget when it is this year, but we'll see. Bandito continued to sell the shoulder injury. His shoulder popped out in his match against Hechicero at CMLL. So he lost the match a couple weeks ago to bring it to Takeshita and Okada because of the shoulder injury. Sold the hell out of it in this match. Brody King is as over as ever. I would kind of pick him right now to win the Continental Classic. Like if I had to pick, I want to see Brody versus Okada for the Continental Class for the unified title. Would love to see that. Brody and Bandito have become such a match made in heaven tag team. Man, Takeshita hits so damn hard as well. Okada, I thought, murdered Bandito with a mid-air drop kick. It was unbelievable, that spot. I thought literally his head flew off when Okada hit the move. But shockingly, not just does Bandito win, which not shockingly, I thought they were going to win, but Bandito pins Okada clean. And I love about this is that means Bandito gets a title shot. So this Wednesday on Dynamite, Bandito will be fighting for the unified title against Okada. Like that a lot. Like that Okada's happiness of taking out Takeshita cost him the match. That was well booked. Brody did the tope to take out Takeshita again to really take him out of the match. Brody kept telling Bandito every time, keep fighting, as he's struggling with the shoulder. Really good stuff. Love Bandito as a team. Again, you have Bandito, who is a Ring of Honor World Champion and a Tag Team Champion, fighting for another belt. But again, at least this one in kayfabe makes a lot of sense because he literally pinned the Unified Champion clean as a sheet in the middle of the ring with the 21 plex. So I'm all for what they chose to do with this match. Bandito retain the World Championship. Talk about retaining the World Championship. Hangman Page defeats Samoa Joe for the world title. At the beginning of this feud, when it started, I was kind of like, really? Joe is now getting a title shot? But that promo at Daly's Place made a lot of sense where Hangman's like, I would have happily given you a title match because you were a big reason why I became world champion. Your feud, your anger with the Death Riders led to me becoming world champion. Only thing I can owe you is a world title match. And Joe said, you still never beat me. So I really like the feud going in. I thought this match was very solid. I don't think it was a great match, but I thought it was very solid. I am an OG TNA person. Like outside of WWE, when I first started watching wrestling, the other company I was watching at the same time was TNA with AJ Styles and Samoa Joe, and even like Ring of Honor days, Samoa Joe. So I always get very nostalgic when I get to watch Samoa Joe, especially in a world title match. Who knows how many more times we'll see Joe in this kind of a big match on pay-per-view. Hangman hit the Deadeye on Joe. Joe kicked out. This led to Hangman doing it took three buckshot lariats to take out Joe. Even earlier in the match, there was a moonsault where Hangman kind of jumped a bit too far, which was unfortunate. But it did take three buckshot lariats to pin Samoa Joe because he hit two, and then Joe was on his feet, took a third one to knock him down and pin him. The interesting thing what happened here was the post match where Joe picks up, Hangman, Hobbs and Shibata come out. Hangman picks up Joe. They're all celebrating with respect. And then Joe clotheslines the shit out of Hangman Page. And not just does that happen very quickly. You don't even get like a Hobbs, Shibata being like, uh-oh, why would you do that? They start beating up Hangman, and it's a full heel turn for the Ops. And they start beating the crap out of Hangman. Joe hits the Muscle Buster on the belt to end this segment. Because I was thinking to myself, when the Hurt Syndicate won the number one contendership match, I was like, that was kind of interesting because, again, the Ops are also baby faces. Because that's why I thought the Demand were going to beat Hurt Syndicate if it was a contender match. But this all makes sense. Hurt Syndicate are definitely going to work babyface now on Wednesday versus the Ops for the trio. So it's going to be interesting if Hangman costs the Ops the titles on Wednesday, because I don't think Okada is going to lose his title match. It would be a really big shock title change. And again, the trios titles have just kind of been a waste in 2025. The Death Riders barely defended them. The Ops beat them. We all thought, here we go, a fresh slate for the trios titles. They're They've barely defended the titles, or really haven't been in like many competitive matches where you thought the titles were in danger, or not that. There haven't been any stories with the Ops as trios champions. So I'm excited that the Ops have a new direction. Joe, Hobbs, and Shibata are heels. We have not seen Shibata work heel in AEW before, so I think this is all really exciting stuff for the Ops. So I think desperately needed a fresh thing, because when Hook got hurt, Hobbs was the perfect replacement. They helped the Death Riders. I think this is actually an interesting storyline. Not that it means we're going to get Joe and Hangman again anytime soon, but at least the Ops have something, a new direction going for themselves. But I am interested if Hangman is going to cost, if Hangman, let me just charge my computer while I'm doing this. If Hangman will cost the Ops the titles and give Hurt Syndicate a title change, we'll see. That trios match will happen on Dynamite. Let's end the show with one of the craziest matches you'll ever see. Darby Allin, Jon Moxley, I Quit match. And I know a lot of people out there, and I am not going to be mad at you. If this is not for you, this is not for you. If you don't like violent, gory wrestling, I absolutely get it. It's not for everyone. It's definitely something that, like, it's not something that I love watching. Like, I had to look away a couple times during this match, but it's not a match where I'm like, I don't understand why people don't like it. I enjoy it, but I totally get, like, if you're someone who this turns you off, I absolutely get it. Because this match, Moxley basically murdered Darby Allin for 98% of this match. Early in the match, Darby did like the finish to All In, where Hangman choked out Moxley, forced him to tap. Darby did that with the AEW flag, but it got disgusting really quick because Moxley used a skewer to put under Darby's fingernail. It was so gross. Darby had to check if his fingernail was even on his finger anymore after this. I don't think I can remember the last time, if ever, I've seen a skewer used in pro wrestling. God, there's a lot to talk about here. Mox hit a move where he threw Darby's ear off the rope and just clipped the ear. Looked really filthy. He threw Darby into the steps a couple times. I want to make sure I get all of these spots right. So I'm going to go, I got to make sure I get all of these spots right, because this was an insane and bloody mess. That's right. Moxley used Darby's belt in this match to whip him, and Darby's back was a different color than the rest of his body. You saw like the marks on his back. There was a taser used in this match. Moxley was going to hit it on Darby, and then Marina, Darby stopped, but then Marina low blowed Darby, and then Moxley tasered Darby Allin. I was like, Jesus Christ. It was insane. Then Darby starts covering Moxley in lighter fluid. I was like, please do not set this man on fire. That did not end up happening as well. All the Death Riders come out, and this leads to a crazy sequence where Claudio, they set up two tables on the outside of the ring on the opposite side of the announce table. Claudio picks up Darby, and you're like, oh, he's going to chuck him through the two tables. And then Claudio looks at the other direction, says, move to the announcers, and chucks Darby through from in the ring to out of the ring off the announce table. It didn't break. This was the same spot from the Claudio Darby match on Dynamite, the first Dynamite in Philly at the 2300 Arena. Once again, same spot, table doesn't break. And even Nigel McGuinness said what I had said, and he said Darby's dead. I was like, Darby probably is dead off that spot. But then they pull Darby right away. Pac drags him back to Moxley. Moxley hits the paradigm shift off the rope through two tables. It was a really cool moment where Moxley looks at Bryce Remsburg and Darby. He's like, this guy's a crazy man. Like, you don't care about him. The fans don't care about him. Just quit. I want to stop delivering you this pain. Just quit. And then they go in the ring. I've said this like a fish tank where Claudio and Pac get this fish tank and they pour water in it. And Mox is like putting Darby under the water, just his face, making him not breathe, and keep asking him, "Are you done? Are you done? Just quit." But this sets up the return of Sting, who I'm not sure we've seen. No, we saw Sting after his retirement because he showed up at All In to help Darby beat Jack Perry. But Sting comes back, whacks Moxley with the bat and the other members with the bat. This became kind of a passing of the torch match where Sting throws the bat to Darby. Sting leaves, takes Marina with her. So now there's no more Death Riders because he beat up all the Death Riders and he took Marina. So now it's really just Darby and Moxley. Darby hits him with the bat. Darby hits the Sting's finisher, hits a Scorpion Deathlock. Moxley says, "I quit," really quickly. And I was thinking to myself, it was a very anticlimactic end to the match because it was so violent. Moxley was doing the craziest stuff to Darby. And this was again, Moxley was dominating this match for like 98% of the match. And that might be being nice. 98% of the match was all Moxley. So for him to tap out or say "I quit" as quickly as he did, just like a Scorpion Death Drop or Scorpion Deathlock, excuse me. Darby had the Scorpion Death Drop and then went into the Scorpion Deathlock. And I was like, that was it. It felt like a very rushed way to get to the end. Like it felt like Moxley, you felt like going in, it would take a lot for one of these guys to say "I quit." And obviously you knew going in, Darby had to win this match. They even said it on the broadcast, he was 0-5 in singles matches in AEW against Moxley. But this is where I thought it was a very anticlimactic. It didn't kill the match for me. It was still as violent, disgusting OMG moments, like turn away moments I was expecting. I just thought they could have delivered more on like, this is what it took for Moxley or Darby to quit. Like that's what it should have felt like. Like something, I guess, crazy had to happen for Moxley to quit. He kind of just quits on a Scorpion Deathlock, which I don't think in a regular match he would have tapped out to. So I guess the question is, where do we go from here? Does the Death Riders now don't trust Moxley anymore because Moxley said "I quit"? I don't know. Who knows the direction of the Death Riders? And now Moxley has lost the title and he said "I quit" to Darby Allin. So who knows? But this was an insane match that I thought the ending was pretty underwhelming for this match. But the match itself I enjoyed, but it wasn't like my favorite match on the show. I think it could have been if the finish really hit hard. Love seeing Sting back, but Darby winning the match like he did, I wasn't the biggest fan of. So we have finally made it. I have talked myself to being awake. It is 1:40 in the morning, and there is 950 people currently watching the stream. So I just want to say, guys, thank you guys so much. I don't think you guys understand. I am someone who never thought being in the world of pro wrestling, like media-wise, was ever possible. I thought I'd just be a fan my whole life because I've had aspirations of being in sports media and broadcasting since I was 6 years old, and a pro wrestling fan since I was like 8 years old. And the last thing I thought of my life was being in pro wrestling media, covering it, being a part of it in any way. So I just want to thank everyone at Body Slam because it's been I'm not leaving anytime soon, but the fact that I am talking by myself at 1:40 in the morning on a Sunday morning and nearly 1,000 people are watching the post show, it truly means a lot. The fact that the audience has kept growing throughout this post show. I just want to say, who knows if I'll ever do this again one-on-one. Again, usually Black Hawk is with me for this, and Rami joins me as always for the WWE post shows. And I also want to thank Rami because he put together this part of the stream together for me. So I really want to thank Rami. Corey, I guess, could not show up. He was busy with some family stuff as well. So he wanted to come, but please subscribe to our Patreon channel. Again, as I said earlier on the show, Corey Hayes, he has been breaking a lot of news. He announced all of those NXT WID releases last week. He also broke the news yesterday on Body Slam's Patreon that Ilya Dragunov was not just backstage at SmackDown, plan to be in a big match on SmackDown. That obviously was true. So if you like exclusive pro wrestling news on a very, which will help support so many people here, please subscribe to our Patreon. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please follow us on Twitter and X. We post videos on TikTok, Twitter, YouTube every single day. So if you like pro wrestling coverage, we cover everything. For BodySlam.net, I also do highs and lows, where I do like a 1-minute breakdown of Raw, NXT, Dynamite, SmackDown, and Collision. So I'm basically doing I'm basically on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok for Body Slam 5 out of the 7 days a week. I'm also live, as I said. I'm here doing the post shows for every WWE and AEW pay-per-view. So maybe next week, as of now, we'll see if we'll do a post show for NXT Halloween Havoc. Stay tuned for that. You can follow me on social media at Dinenberg Max. You can follow me on Instagram at Max Dinenberg. Thanks for joining me, guys, for over an hour. That has been the BodySlam.net post show for Wrestle.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, no.